Cut there. Where's my clicky pen? Where did I put the clicky pen? There it is. So one arm didn't do so great. Let's go for... Give me a random. No, I don't. I'm not doing another one-armed. Glutton. Explosion damage when picking up a consumable at maximum health. Consumables have 100% to a chance to explode for your melee damage. Danger 5 is nuts. I'm still on Danger 2, Ember. I am not very good at this game. I think we are going to do Pacifist. Pacifist with the pruner. 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's AAA. Welcome back to Brotato. It's time. We're going to do Danger 1. The Pacifist, I'm going to play as the Pacifist. And we're going to see how this goes. Remind me, we get material and XP for every living enemy at the end of a round. We get a big chunk down to damage. Is your podcast an audiobook of movies? Not quite. I do discuss the movie plot and then analyze it at the end. It's a little bit like an audiobook of movies, I suppose, now that I think about it. It's more so a way for people who can't or don't watch horror to still enjoy the story in horror, with also some discussion about the themes and stuff within them. Though I do suppose calling it an audiobook of horror movies is not the farthest from the truth. I do plan on doing some topic-based episodes rather than, just ones we're talking about horror movies. So our next episode is going to be talking about the autopsy of Jane Doe. Are there themes in horror movies? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much theming to good horror movies. We're going to be talking about the autopsy of Jane Doe next time, which is an existential haunting kind of movie. But it has really, really good. It can be, if you decide to look at it this way, a really good discussion piece for independence and from family and things like that. There's a lot of discussion about family in that movie as well as fate. But an episode I am working on but haven't sat down and worked on, as much as I'd like to, is talking about. There's an issue I have with modern horror movies, and that is the trend for disabilities to be villainized, and monsters having disabilities. It's a really problematic trend, and I really don't like it. So we're going to be talking about when I do that episode, when I have the time. Life's been busy. Smile, Wreck are going to be the main two for that. But there's also I plan on touching on Hereditary in that, and Midsummer. There's a lot of movies that do that. Do you discuss philosophy? I don't feel like I'm well informed enough on philosophy to call myself to consider when I talk about philosophy, but a little bit. There's a little bit of philosophy talk in the first episode on The Invitation. I also think I went on a philosophy ramble during the Truth or Dare episode. Oh no, I absolutely did. If you want, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey when it's out. I don't do movies that are still in theaters, so we are going to be doing Scream 6, but after it's out of theaters. But I would consider doing Blood and Honey, for sure. It's bad? It might be. I don't know. I've not seen it. I really enjoyed Scream 6. So I'm excited to talk about that one. But, yeah, Happy Pedal. If you want to hear me talk about horror philosophy, absolutely listen to the Truth or Dare episode. There's a lot of talk about medical philosophy, capitalism, the predetermined fate of the poor. There's a lot of philosophy stuff in there. Compacted nicely, I think, into its hour-ish runtime. Although, if we want to talk bad horror movies, I did watch a bad horror movie the other day. I don't know if any of you are familiar with The Outpost. The Outpost is a World War II-esque ghost movie. It's basically about Nazi ghosts. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like a funny, interesting idea. Let me watch it. The Outpost was great. Then I watched the sequel to The Outpost, and it was atrocious. One of the worst carryovers from sequel to second film I've ever seen. Holy crap. If I ever decide to do an episode about a bad movie, like, the original movie didn't have much budget, and it was good. And then the sequel got a bigger budget, and it just sucks. Have you seen the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist? I actually saw the trailer for that literally about 15 minutes before starting this stream, because I was watching 911, which is like 911 and 911 Lone Star they're basically soap operas that are kind of my guilty pleasure show, because I don't know why, but I really enjoy them. And there was a trailer for that, and I was not a big fan. I'm not typically a huge fan of that genre, like Conjuring, Exorcist. What was that other one that came out not too long ago? Pray for the Devil. Those kind of movies aren't typically my cup of tea. But the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist looked okay. Didn't really jump out at me, but it looked okay. The main reason I don't love most movies that have to do with hauntings, which is something we'll talk about in the, I assumed that is horror. Oh yeah, it's definitely horror. Like, without any doubt, that's a horror movie for sure. A lot of those movies, in the subgenre of hauntings and ghosts and possession and crap, they tend to be very bland. There doesn't tend to be a lot of excitement in them. They typically rely on jump scares, creepy voices, and dark rooms. They're more the horror movie genre has a bad rap for people assuming that it doesn't... How do I explain? Words are hard. I'm tired. The best way for me to describe it is, horror movies are way more complicated than people give them credit for when they are the good, well-written horror movies. However, these days there are less and less of those that people know about. They tend to be... They happen, Smile, amazing movie, did great, for good reason, because it was clever. It wasn't just a schlocky horror movie that relied on cheap jump scares and gore to bring people in. And then you have the more self-analytical horror movies like Scream that are a step above that schlocky, gory gore fest, but do definitely pride themselves as more horror movies than philosophical pieces using horror as a background, like Smile did. The reason I enjoy Autopsy of Jane Doe as much as I do is it's genuinely scary, for one, without relying a lot on gore. And two, it just kind of has this incredibly well-done atmosphere of dread and hopelessness and I'm a sucker for that. Uh, if you've ever seen the movie The Mist by Frank Darabont in 2003, 2008, whenever The Mist was, I have an episode on it as well. Hopelessness, a hopeless film, really appeals to me for some reason. Maybe because of, as the victim of trauma, I try to find hope in movies and life. But it's occasionally really nice to just have a dread-filled piece of media for some reason. It's almost cathartic, seeing these fictional people go through really sad, depressing things. That's why, crap like Romeo and Juliet is as well known today as it is because at its core, it's a tragedy more so than anything. And it's a beautifully written tragedy where you feel bad for the people involved. And I think things like The Mist, Autopsy of Jane Doe, both do that excellently. Ember says, A Quiet Place is one of your favorite modern horror movies. Oh, I really enjoyed A Quiet Place, rather. Partially as someone who is disabled, I really liked the way it handled everything. I think it was expertly done. And I'm surprised I've not covered The Quiet Place. Partially it's been because the podcast episodes haven't been doing well, so I've been putting a lot more effort into my main channel's content. But I really need to, now that I've got more time, well, I'm going to have more time on my hands soon, with my schedule changing. I should try and pump out more episodes of the pod, because I do really enjoy doing them. They are unfortunately a lot of work, because to prepare for the podcast episode, obviously I rewatched the film, but I take a frick ton of notes about the plot, details, things of that nature. Basically, I took a page from the Dead Meat podcast, where when they talk about movies, they kind of give you a plot synopsis for if you haven't seen the movie and don't intend to, so you can still enjoy the discussion piece after they talk about the film. That's kind of what I do with mine. My only gripe with A Quiet Place, the only reason I don't love it as much, is even though it's a very good film, I just can't stand... This is kind of bad. I don't like the way the monsters look at all. Okay, at all is an overstatement, but I really don't think they look very good. Especially in the sequel. They've got some iffy effects in the sequel. What disability do you have, if you're okay talking about it? Oh, absolutely. I've got a couple. I suffer from diplopia, meaning I'm visually impaired, legally blind. I struggle with chronic double vision, which is part of why, as much as I love video games, I'm kind of bad at them. I have brain damage, which damaged the part of my brain that processes sensory information, which is why I have diplopia, as well as it just gives me some weird quirks when it comes to sensory inputs. So I can't smell, but I have very hypersensitive hearing, to the point where, like, things above 100 decibels for me are painful. Also, I have Marfan syndrome, so I struggle to walk. So I have a cane that I use. I also occasionally need to use a wheelchair ambulatorily. Yeah. And The Quiet Place, one of the main characters is deaf, and that it plays a big factor in the film's plot. Also, why eventually I should probably talk about Hush, which is the blind horror movie. Not the blind horror movie. The good deaf horror movie. It's amazing. And the only reason I haven't covered it is because it's primarily a slasher. That's just a well-written slasher. That's about all it is. There's not a ton to discuss about the movie, which is part of why I've held off. From an accident? No. I was actually an assault victim. That's what I've got the brain damage from. We're doing actually really well with this run. The pruners are great, giving us lots of access to fruit. We've got good HP regen and armor. Recycle that. More HP. Upgrade a pruner. Alien worm seems like a bad idea. Triangle of power is also a bad idea. Sorry, I'm adjusting my chair. Wheelbarrow's not worthwhile. Let's reroll. Give me a better pruner. For sure. Blindfold's tempting, but no. Give me lemonade. We can afford to take broken mouth. We'll lock this pruner. And here we go. You feel like the hand is an easier route, but you're doing really well. Thank you. The hand is really nice for like the knockback and the harvesting, but I'd really like the HP, just the constant stream of HP we're getting from all these pruners, from all the fruits. It kind of makes me more able to get away with making mistakes. I feel like the hand paired with something like Barricade or Chameleon works really well with the knockback plus standing still. I've seen some people do it that way. But as you can see, we're getting hit a lot, but we're just surrounded by HP pickups, so we can survive it. I will say we are still struggling. I'm just gonna kind of chill out here for a second to survive the wave. 2, 1. Keep dodging, keep dodging, keep dodging. Thank God. That was too close. Reroll me. Reroll me. Give me more speed. Yeah, we do. We have -8 dodge. Part of why I'm not really going that route is I have just kind of tanked it. We can now afford to take Alien Worm because we've taken Lemonade, so we don't get the -1. Also, I love the tardigrade. One of my favorite items from the new update, not just because I love tardigrades, and I'm incredibly biased, but also it's a really neat item. It's like this game's equivalent of Tough Bones from Space Gladiators, the Blobfish's previous game. Or if you're an Isaacer, it's basically just Holy Mantle. There are so many projectiles on the screen, I cannot keep track of them. There we go, that wave went a lot better. Dodge negative is better than negative armor? Oh yeah. Negative armor makes you take more damage. Negative dodge just means you don't dodge. Which, I always know what I'm picking of those two. How much engineering do we have? Need, rather. Toolbox is interesting. I don't actually know how much it would make that heal us for. But I don't think it's enough to warrant it. Okay. Yeah, I'll take Svid's Relic, I guess. Do we take Svid's Relic? Adrenaline's not worth it. As much as I love Adrenaline, because we have -8 dodge, it's a bad idea. What do we think about Svid's? We're not really causing a lot of material to drop, so I feel like it's just not quite worth it, as much as I love this item. Yeah, I think we're just gonna skip it. Give me more weird food. Okay, I think we take this ooh. You know what? Give me that and that. We'll take a hand for the knockback and harvesting. Yeah, I think that was the right call. We don't need either of these. We don't need riposte. We don't need any of this. In we go. There we go. I did end up taking a hand. I don't know how long we'll keep the hand. But it felt like the right call at the time for the extra harvesting and the knockback. And I think 5 pruners is plenty. Bad, bad, bad. Give me lots of fruits. Thank you. It's 1:30, so we might, depending on when this run ends, we'll probably have time for one more run before multiplayer Stardew happens. There we go. Okay, if you're going to give it to me for free, I'll take it. I'll take Little Frog. More regen. Don't need any of those. Give me Alien Worm. Hand 5. That's interesting. No, I don't know what that banging is. Sorry. I'll do that. I think 2 hands is too many. But maxing out our hand is fine by me. This is getting a lot harder. Ah, that was just bad dodging. And they just keep getting faster and faster because they're the... Ah, this is terrifying. Just keep running, keep running. It's like a NASCAR race. We got our pit stop in the top right corner, just keep going. Continue to go in circles, little man. There we go. I don't want Baby Gecko. Or that. Ooh, +3 armor is lovely. Reroll me. Reroll me. Power generator's interesting. Plus 34% damage is a lot. I just don't feel like it's worth it. It's a lot of money. Crown's probably too late to be worth it. Incendiary turret's worth it, though. No, it's actually not worth it. Here we go. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Personally, I now kind of wish that the wings were like instead reskinned as a golf cart. Not golf cart. Mario Kart. Because my brain is playing like the Rainbow Road theme as we run around in circles. I'm not actually sure we'll win this run, but we'll come close. Because we might not survive this wave, I don't think. No, we're not. There were just too many enemies. Why did I take Gentle Alien earlier? That was such a bad idea. I don't know why I did that.
Hello, what's happening? It's that man in black and green. Sometimes sweet and saccharine, sometimes he bees as mad as me inside. persistently